So that opens up the door now to, well, if they don't have to do that at hospitals, maybe it's more convenient for us to send out people in suits and ties to your door. Now they're going to
No. That's already going on. They're already sending letters to people saying your kids haven't been vaccinated, and people are showing up saying, I'm from the National Health Registry in weird scrubby uniforms. We got calls about that the last 3 months and then saw it in the news.
Well, we could talk about the swine flu in the shop, but what really concerns me is another type of a domestic terror attack like in Oklahoma City, where they blame, Constitution-loving, patriot.
Because behind the scenes, it's not Al-Qaeda they're scaring the cops with. It is the patriots.
Yeah,
we're the main threat.
Right, and that's what's going to give them the excuse to round up people like myself, people like you, people like William, people who are in this movement. That's my biggest concern.
But a lot of insiders say they don't want to do that. They may just shut the web off. What did you think 2 weeks ago when Obama said, yeah, the NSA's taken over the web. During emergencies like swine flu, we may shut all websites off but government for your safety. I mean, that's openly being announced.
That's not for your safety.
But, exactly. But I'm saying to have them openly breaking the ice, see, they're really getting ready for this.
Well, it's all a series of tests. They test to see how the public is going to respond to these actions, and if they don't get serious outcry or anything like that, then they may hold back on how they react.
But then they've always got 5 or 6 other operations simultaneously running.
It's all a psyop.
How does that even work? Do people believe that by shutting down the internet that's really going to keep them safe? How would that apply to television and media stations? You're going to shut down the newspapers? You're going to shut off everybody's TV and cable? Because there's still information coming out. So whose information is more credible? Apparently the information they're getting on the internet is a little more credible because they don't want you to get it.
Well, it'll be corporate control. They hand out the talking points to the mainstream media and say, this is what you can report on. They leave.
And that's admitted now. Almost all movies and TV shows are completely written by the government.
FBI wrote most of the X-Files, or they were at least involved in.
I've had the star of the X-Files, Dean Haglund, show up at my house, do an interview, and say, yeah, the CIA told us what to produce and told us that lone gunman episode where the government hijacks a jet to fly in the World Trade Center to blame it on Afghanistan and uses a drill to make NORAD stand down. No. Who are these people? Why are they so sick that they like to see it on TV, what they're going to do to us?
It's not that they like to see it on TV. What they're doing is they're putting it out there so that when you talk to your audience and tell them it's one of these wild, fascinating stories, people are going to go, hey, man, you've been watching too much X-Files.
You know what? I probably get, no exaggeration, when I go 5 emails a day or more, and I see it all over YouTube comments going, Alex got all his news from Metal Gear Solid. I don't know what Metal Gear Solid is. It's supposedly some combat game. Yeah, combat game. I've seen the cover. No, that's them putting what's really going on in the game. Metal Gear Solid is this. What is it? I guess it's some combat game?
It's a video game. You run around and shoot people.
What they say when I talk about population reduction, that's a Metal Gear Solid.
I never played the game, but most of these games have a timeline, a storyline, and a whole...
When I talk about New World Order, they think I'm talking about the WWF group.
Oh, that was definitely...
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
We're going to take some of your phone calls. Mike, Robert, Mandy, Rick in the Bahamas, who disagrees. We'll go to him first, and then Brian in Montreal. Before this show ends, we'll take your calls. I wanted to show you this. National Reconnaissance Office, United States of America. We got sent from the address saying, not all of us are asleep. Death and New World Order, long live the Republic. A Defense Intelligence Agency patch mailed from the Defense Intelligence Agency with nothing else on it. This one here says National Reconnaissance Office, United States of America. On the back, it says Central Intelligence Agency, nowhere to hide. Yeah, well, there's nowhere to hide when you violate the Bill of Rights and Constitution and help the government ship the narcotics in and interdict people that don't pay their cut. There's nowhere to hide from God for the crimes that you've been committing. Oh, yeah, I guess we need headphones to be able to take calls with you guys. That's a good point. I should have thought of that earlier. We're getting them hooked up. Good job, guys. For 3 days, I've been meaning to play this clip as just an example of how they've got people into false reality and into simulations, not just sports, and all these mass game video games where millions of people, sometimes millions, sometimes hundreds of thousands, and one of them is called Eve, and it's some intergalactic battle deal with humans from different corporations fighting each other. And on this front page of the site, I saw the ad on YouTube, it said, your life will matter. You actually affect this universe. The things you do as one lone person of 300,000 playing, your life will matter. So see, they know that people want to have worth, want to do right, want to matter, so they get you to join Homeland Security as a spy, or they get you to think the Little League's important when the whole country's going down, or they get you involved in all these other petty things, or these fake tribes like sports. That's the control system. But, Franchi, you were making a point about the media and the culture.
Well, it's all a psyop game. They plant these seeds into your subconscious. So, like as William mentioned, when you bring it up in public, it's easy to discredit, but it also, in your mind, you've already heard it. You've heard it somewhere before, and
you're comfortable with it.
Comfortable with it. You've been
acclimated.
Desensitized is the word. Yes.
Gallighted. You had the ground prepared. I mean, I watched Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
I saw that last night.
You saw it last, and the whole thing is torture's good, tasering's good, burning people's eyes out to get answers is good, the military's perfect, you're being face scanned for your own safety, total surveillance is good,
Other than that movie's a total waste of time, man.
Well, when I saw the movie, there was a character in the film who had this huge computer set
up. The conspiracy theorists are crazy and bad.
I'm like, wow, those sounds.
But the good guy tells them to lie for America.
Right. When that conspiracy theorist was talking, I'm like, wow, he's saying a lot of things I've said before, you know.
Yeah, but other than that, it's a lot of Transformers transforming from a car back into a Transformer, back into whatever. And, I mean, most of the movie is nothing but special effects. There's very little, there's no relationship.
But it's not bad when you're jogging.
There was in the film.
If I try to jog, like down the street, I can go like a mile. But if I put on a movie and get into it, I can get 3 miles, 4 miles in. Kind of walk the last 10.
Wow.
The problem is, no matter what I watch, it's all propaganda. Then I can go pull it up and, here's a Defense Department grant. I mean, they admit now it's fake news.
Well, you know, it's not necessarily always the CIA or some government agency.
No, but big productions are.
Yeah, I do agree with you on some of those, but I think it's just so ingrained in our culture. This is what we're being prepared for. This is what people are thinking about. It's on their minds. It's in their conscience, and they're writing about it.
Sure, we're driving that by exposing it, and I've talked to a lot of directors, but they may have 4 or 5 top stars in their film, and the film costs $9 million, and they make $15 million, and it should be a big hit. And I've talked to Richard Linklater. He's making A Scanner Darkly with Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Woody Harrelson, a bunch of other people in it. I'm in it. I consulted on it. And he had final cut, but they went like $500,000 over. So then that was Warner Brothers came in and said, okay, you're going to cut all these scenes. You're going to cut where the cop blows the guy's head off. That's anti-law enforcement. Now, let me tell you, and Linklater fought him and kept it in because it was in the book. But the point is there is control. There is control. I know people in Hollywood. There is, and I can tell you the behind the, okay, I knew when we were going to make Loose Change Final Cut with Charlie Sheen that Mark Cuban was going to put it out in theaters nationwide, and he got threats. And that other people's families, a general who is the brother of a producer's wife, called up and said, your kids can get killed doing this. You better not do it. Okay? Now, I was asked, shut up about that, until it was in the news that the White House had the Securities and Exchange Commission call up Mark Cuban, and they also sent an email and said, we're going to destroy you for this. So he dropped out of it. They still indicted him. And then it came out he was indicted for no reason. So the court case just got beaten 2 months ago. This is now admitted. And so when the New York Times comes out and writes about it, they're just threatening everyone. But I agree with you. A lot of it isn't controlled. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily trying to get off on that tangent. I was just making the point that it is so already ingrained in our culture and in our conscience that those are the types of things we want to see. Those are the types of things that people just write about, and we're for whatever reason drawn to those things. It's not that they're necessarily accurate or true, but I think we're fascinated with the end times and some of these technologies
and our own destruction.
Yeah, exactly, for whatever reason.
Okay, I want to go to phone calls and a few other items, but will you guys bring me that Eve YouTube clip in? I printed this up. I linked from a YouTube ad to this, but then YouTube itself has the video. It's called The Butterfly Effect. Thank you, Jaron. And when you click through to the Eve site, it says your life will now matter. You're going to be important. This is where you fight. This is where you're a man. 300,000 people. And so you have people paying in the real world with these simulation games.